live. Oh, I should have tested your audio.
Oh,
Let me check real quick. Mic check on here. Yep. Okay. Audio's good. We are live. Okay. So let me get things set up here. Um, for those who are tuning in, I know there's a couple people, mainly family and friends actually, that are tuning in to watch.
oh,
Though I'm sure most of my live streams are just family and friends,
now
anyways.
you mean uh,
So let's do a quick introduction and then we can kind of jump into it. So today we're gonna have a very casual discussion about dating.
mhm.
Norman has been single. Oh no, he's in a relationship right now, but he was single for how long?
On and off for the past 10 years, and on and off, dates here and there, but you know,
Okay,
single, without the prospects of marriage, but it's okay.
okay.
Yeah,
And then I've been single for about a year-ish or so now. So we're
yeah,
just gonna have a casual conversation. I think we have different perspectives on some of the dating stuff. So we're just
yeah,
gonna chat
probably.
about that. But we have something to guide us, and that is a poll that I polled on the Subtle Asian Leftovers group, and people were just curious about certain questions. So we'll start off with those kind of questions, but ask some fun questions that everyone has debates about, like who pays on the first
Hmm.
date. That's
Right.
always an interesting thing to talk about. So, and maybe we can start with one question from that poll and then go into who pays on the first date next, because I always think
Okay.
that's fascinating to talk about.
Yeah, sounds good.
But again, maybe one more thing to add before we start is that many of these questions are catered towards single people. So
Hmm.
Norman has a girlfriend as of how long now has it been?
It's been about 2 months already. In 2 days, I think. Yeah, in 2 days, it'll be 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Susan, you're there.
Did you send her the link to to watch?
No, I didn't send her a link, but maybe later on she'll watch it or something.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the first question. So I have a list of, let me see, like 6 or 7 questions here. I'll read it and then we can kind of just answer it however we will. But
All right.
the first question is definitely more pertinent to single people. The question
Mm-hmm.
is, and it was the highest rated question to ask, is what are some of the things that you've learned from past relationships that you now look for in a new partner?
I mean, going through a few different girlfriends, like I've definitely learned a lot of things throughout my relationships, and one of the things is just having things to talk about and having good communication. And if you don't have good communication and respect, then usually it doesn't go very far when you have a relationship. And usually from what I've noticed is that if you don't have like the same, cultural backgrounds or like understanding of each other, then it's usually not going to work. So like from the past, like if they were from a different country and I was, they had a different view of how things should be done versus how I had things wanted things to be done, and it gets a lot of cultural clashes, and that just doesn't, makes takes a lot of work for that to be to make it work. So definitely communication and understanding, definitely things that I've learned that I take to my next relationship.
Is there like specific examples that you usually look for? Like, again, this is mainly
Mm,
from the perspective of someone who's single and actively dating. So, like, let's say you
right.
go on a first date or subsequent dates. How do you apply that to those dates?
Usually depending on how traditional they are, like if they're on a date and who pays, right?
Wait, wait,
Um,
wait. Hold that topic first.
okay, all
We'll,
right.
we'll talk about that next.
I mean, um, usually like who is, like how do you talk about relationships, right? And like depending on the culture, like they'll expect you to do all the work, or picking out all the places, picking out all the um spots that you want to go to, and depending on the culture, right? Like if there's like a Chinese person who's from mainland, they'll expect you to do all the work, right? Sometimes if you're more Americanized, they'll kind of give out suggestions a little bit, and they'll be more willing to put some a little bit more effort in terms of like training the cultures. So that's what I've noticed so far. Um,
Kind of a tangent, but I just realized that. So I've never dated a mainland Asian girl, so it was
mhm.
interesting to hear that. Um, And I actually don't have that. I have not had that many girlfriends in the past. So I don't have
Right,
that much
right.
experience. But before we jump into that, you are not logged into the YouTube, right?
I am logged in.
Oh, so you can see comments. Looks like Robert has
Yeah,
a
yeah.
question, which we'll get to in just a second. But
Okay.
anything else aside from communication?
Family, like family issues, like how do you want to handle family? I've noticed so far that different cultures, you know, handle family situations a little bit differently. So they'll usually want, certain things from you. If so, it's a little weird about that. We can probably expand on that later on.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Um, maybe we're just ask Robert's question there.
Okay.
Then, what is the biggest lesson or thing you took away from your longest relationship? And I guess, what is your longest relationship? How long was
Yeah.
it?
It was 4 years, and that was back in like it started in high school senior year,
Mm,
and then it ended around college senior as well too. And probably the thing I learned is that you have to be, confident in yourself, right? Because like when I was younger, you don't really feel confident, but as get more experience in a relationship, you will get more confidence and knowing to like love yourself and being able to like know when to give up on a relationship, not just keep on fighting for it when you know that it's not gonna keep on and it's not gonna work out. So that relationship really made me see what I need in a relationship and when to end it when it's not what I need. You know.
hmm.
Hmm.
So I can take a stab at this one too, because I feel like my lack of experience mainly comes because I was in a very
Oh.
long relationship. No names, no
All right.
names, no names.
No
Uh,
names.
um, but I was in a relation. My longest relationship was 10 years, and I knew that person for probably about 12 or 13 years.
Hmm.
Um, but my biggest thing that I learned from that relationship was that I'm a terrible boyfriend.
I
Like,
mean,
well, I guess to better add to that is that relationships, especially once you go past the 1 year or 2 year or 3 year mark, it's not, you lose that honeymoon phase, and
yeah.
it's, you have to work at it. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've taken away from all my relationships, but especially that
Right.
very first one is like you have to actively work on it.
Yeah,
Like,
you definitely have to work on it. You have to like keep on wooing the girl. You can't just rest on your laurels. But oh, I got the girl. What else I have to do? But really got to like work on like making sure you keep on getting her attention because otherwise someone's gonna swoop in and just like steal her away. It's very easy to do that if you're not paying attention to the girl's needs. So
yeah,
someone else is gonna come and get it for you. Get it from you.
okay. Well,
Hmm.
now let's jump into that fun question of, say you were on a first date, with a
Right.
girl, and you never met this person. Let's say you met her on an online dating app,
Hmm.
and you guys decide to go on a date. Let's say you go to a restaurant for dinner.
Right.
That's your
Right.
first date.
Hmm.
Um, and you've had maybe a couple conversations with her on through text or maybe phone, whatever. But your very first date, who pays on that first date?
Well, being the guy in the dating world, like you're thought to be, a gentleman, right? So I would feel that I should be paying for that first date. I'm the one asking her out on a date, so it should be my duty to pay for that date. She's giving me that pleasure of taking her out. So that would be my first intent is just to be the one paying for it. And for me, like for that first time, like if she doesn't asked to help out in the bill, it doesn't really matter for me. So since I'm the one who actually, chose a place, I chose the location, I chose the time, then it's my job to pay for it. Be a gentleman. So that's how I was grew up. Just pay pay for your friends, pay for your dates. That first time, that's fine for me.
So there's a lot of ways we can ask these
Yeah,
questions. So one
yeah,
question would
definitely.
be, what if we flipped it?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's not uncommon for girls to choose the place,
Mm-hmm.
or initiate the date. what if she did all that? She picked the dinner place. She asked you out.
Right.
She let no one picked each other. You guys met there, but what if she did that? Does that change the equation at all?
I would think so. Yeah. If I would kind of see how she thinks, right? So if she chooses a fancy restaurant versus like a low key, hole in the wall, then I'll kind of know. I'm kind of like seeing how she thinks about this kind of thing. Like if she's choosing a really expensive restaurant, then I'm kind of like, is this girl just wants a free meal? Because she probably expects all guys to pay for her, right? So I'm like, so then I'll be like, So I'll probably be like, hey, this place is kind of up there. Maybe you should. I'll give like a suggestion, like oh, maybe this place might be a little better. Since it's more like oh, it's more quiet, so we can hear each other better. Just some kind of like you know, escape where you kind of like don't be like an asshole because you're not saying oh, I don't want to pay for your dinner, but kind of like suggest a different spot where it's more quieter. So that's a way to like you know
Has that
make
happened?
it. No, no, it hasn't for me because like I usually since I eat a lot outside, so I kind of know all the restaurants when I was living in New York. So I'm usually the first one that would give out suggestions on where to go and where to eat and where to drink. So it hasn't happened to me. So I usually take charge
Okay,
whenever I
so
go on dates.
how about we omit because that's another territory you can dive into, like about fancy restaurants or like where to take on the first date. But
Hmm.
let's say it was just an average restaurant, maybe a restaurant that you would have recommended anyways. But let's
Okay.
say she initiated and said, "Hey, let's go to this restaurant." Um, again, she initiated. Does that change the
Uh-huh.
equation for who pays?
Then not really. Then since being a gentleman, I just what why I'm just gonna pay for it anyways. So why even make a hassle out of it? So that's just my deal on it.
Okay.
Hmm.
So the other thing that people usually say nowadays, like the reason why this question also comes up a lot is because people argue, especially those that have different beliefs than you, is
Right.
that nowadays there's equality, and then
Right.
there's the feminism movement is that everyone is equally working. Equal, it's not equal pay, but
Hmm.
theoretically, they're both sides are working. You're trying to get to know each other. So the argument is that it should be split.
Right. Well, if she wants to pay, then I'll be like, cool, cool. I see your gesture. I appreciate it. And then I'm like, you know what? You can get the drinks, and I'll get the food. And we'll just kind of like split it that way. So it's still fair, but I still get to pay my share, and she gets to pay her share. But it's kind of like pay one bill at we kind of when we split. You kind of like figure out how much money whatever got split in half. It's like more work for the waiter sometimes. So it's probably just easier just like pay one set of it. Like if you're going to like a bar or something, she pays the drinks or dessert, and I'll pay like dinner and whatever happens during the dinner. So that's kind of fair in my opinion.
So what is your expectations?
My
Like
expectations.
like you just created a scenario where if she initiated to
Mm-hmm.
offer to pay, but let's say what are you thinking? Regardless of her actions, what are you thinking? Who
Mm-hmm.
should pay? You should still pay in general. Is that what you're thinking?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So Robert asked another question. Seems like Robert's got a lot of questions here.
Uh huh.
So Robert says, is it fair to judge someone on a first date?
Um, uh, it's fair if you're asking a lot of questions. Like you gotta make sure you're asking questions first. You can't just judge someone on just based off their body language or any of that kind of stuff. But you're asking like real questions, then yeah, you can judge. See how they think. See how they respond to certain questions. Then yeah, if you know yourself and you try to figure out the person, then yeah, you have the right to judge someone. Maybe not tell them, but at least you know yourself that how this is gonna feel like later on. Because usually you can tell right away if you know yourself. You know right away if this person's worth it or not.
So I'm curious now because everyone has some type of biases that they have and things that they like and dislike.
Right.
What are some of the examples of what you judge someone and decided like,
Mm.
hey, I do not want a second date because of that.
Well, like usually when the girls usually talking more about like partying or like allow like getting like blacked out like last weekend or something, like then that kind of like it's got a red flag for me because I don't really party hard like that anymore. So I'm trying to be more mindful of the future. So I want to be more relaxed and
So,
not always be going out all the time.
so if a girl was talking about partying all the time, or quite a bit on the first date,
Mhm.
that would be a red flag for you to not go on a second date?
Yeah, yeah, probably. Because I'm trying to be serious. I don't want to be playing around with people. So like if her lifestyle doesn't fit my lifestyle, then it's probably not going to work out in the future.
Hmm.
So that's my judgmental side, I guess.
Is there anything other uh, things that they've said that made you not want to pursue a second date?
Usually sometimes like when they're if they're talking about their jobs or something like that, and like they're kind of like pissed off about the job, so it kind of makes me think that they're stuck somewhere. So if they're showing me like passion, that's fine. But if they think that their jobs are like crap and they're really unhappy, then it kind of makes you feel like that person's not really like willing to get what she wants. So and she's just settling for what's there. So for me, that's like another red flag that that person's not willing to get what she wants. So that shows me that she just like, okay, whatever, it's good enough. So
But
so when she talks about that kind of stuff, yeah,
would you not think, and this is just my own personal opinion, is that most people are not in their dream jobs, and most people are probably not super happy in the jobs they're at. So if someone
right.
was talking about that, you would hold that against them?
Well, on a first date, you kind of don't want to be, throwing your garbage out there right away. So like, you
Fair.
kind of make it want to be fun. So like, why throw your stuff out there when it's the first date? If it was like, no, we're dating already, then that's fine. But if it's on our first date, I don't want to be hearing about your problems at work. So that's usually a red flag for me.
All right, all right. I feel like there's a lot of great stuff that we can ask about. Um, well, that's interesting. There's
Hmm.
there's some questions on the chat. You should ask your questions in the YouTube chat.
Yeah,
Um,
YouTube chat. I don't see anything on there.
but let's say, what is this here? It's a question for you, Norman. What if a
Hmm.
girl was a party girl in the past? Does that affect a guy's judgment for a second date or serious relationship?
No, I mean, as long as she explains, I mean, as long as she tells me, what she did is fine. But like, I used to be a big party person when I was in the past too, so I don't take that as a knock on her. So as long as she's like, oh, I that lets me know that she knows how to have fun. But it's still like if it's in the past, and that's fine because then that means our lifestyles will match. Because like I used to be a good, a party person, but then now I'm more, relaxed. So as long as she knows that it's in her past, then it should work out a little better in the future.
So, another question, we're gonna switch back to the poll here,
Hmm.
because we talked about this recently too. What age is considered too young or too old?
Well, I mean, for me, age is just about a number, right? But there's this thing where it says, your age divided by two and then plus seven, and that's like your minimum age that you should date.
Uh-huh.
And for me, it's like what 24, I think. So I'm 34, so it's around 24, 23. And but they things that depends on their mindset and their experience. If they're young and they have experience in the world and they know what the world's about, then yeah, then it shouldn't matter. But if they're older too and they're kind of like lacking experience and they're like don't know what they want in life, then it's also not that good either. So it depends on how they experience life, right? So they could be younger or older, and but if they don't have experience, then obviously they're not gonna know much about the world or anything about life. So it depends on their experiences.
So when I ask this question, maybe we're at another element here where it's,
Mm-hmm.
what if you don't know the girl yet? You don't know what her experiences are, and
Mm-hmm.
you are on a online dating app and
Right,
you decide what your criteria is. So what age
right.
would you set it at?
Um,
What's too
Probably
old and what's too young?
like for me, like personally, um, I try to set it around 25 and then all the way up to like 31, 32. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I think I fluctuate. So I can say that The youngest I've dated was 24,
Hmm.
and I think the oldest, I don't think I've dated anyone older than me. I've dated someone that was taller than me, and that was
Yeah,
kind of cool.
I have to
Oh,
taller than me.
how much taller?
About like an inch or so. So, but she was still pretty tall. Like if she had wore heels, she'd be like at least 3, 4 inches ahead of me. So, but it's fine. I don't mind. It just means better offspring for my kids, right? I mean, better genes for my kids in the future if it happens to work out later on. You know,
How was that, by the way? How was like your dating someone taller? And I'll start here. So I think that both age and height is like a number, right?
right?
But I can tell you that it was a little weird for me. It just felt weird for me dating someone that was 1 inch and she was only 1 inch
Uh-huh.
taller. It just felt off. But how was it for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was fine for me because like it does see like it's very equal. Like I'm used to looking down all the time, right? But like looking straight ahead, it's kind of like it's an interesting moment, But like it was definitely very different, but it was fine. Things. I felt like I didn't need to protect her all the time. Since she's just as tall as me, so like, but I don't have to like worry about that kind of stuff all the time because she can take care of herself because she's so tall. So it doesn't seem like she's like a little baby. Like how like the older girls I've dated in the past, like they're just so small and delicate looking, and you just want to like like take care of her. But with a taller girl, you're like, oh, this girl's like I think she can take care of herself. Like you don't have to like baby her as much sometimes. That's my perception anyway. Sometimes like
I
she's just
don't think I've ever heard of someone being taller and having the ability to take care of themselves. But I mean, maybe that's just impressions. It makes sense.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
bigger. But anyways, um, question from Julie here is, what is your ideal first date?
It all depends on like usually I try to like gauge the girl's interests. So like usually I'm talking to her on through text or like whatever chat that I'm using, and I try to ask questions about on what they like. And if they're more of an artsy person, then I'll kind of like incorporate certain things in the schedule. So like usually if the girl like likes art stuff, I'll kind of like do like a museum or like a painting with twists where you can paint and you drink. So like, I kind of like try to like find a spot where like you can have easy conversations and it's not too loud. So it just depends on the girl. Um, I've done parks, I've done museums, I've done restaurants and bars.
First dates. These are all first dates.
Yeah, all first dates. Just depending on the girl. Seeing how what they like first. I try to make sure they have certain interests that I'm asking for, and I try to put that into consideration, and then I just decide where to take her from there. So, but yeah,
So Norman is a man of adaptation.
yes, yes.
So what has been the most interesting first date that you've taken someone? The location
Definitely
wise.
location wise, probably like we would go to like one of those like garage sales or like one of those like outdoor like 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 festivals where they kind of like make their own like a craft like a craft fair, and like there's all these like like stores that they're like selling their wares that they made at home. And one of the girls that I dated, like she was one of those like RC, she graduated from FIT and stuff like that, and she was very into those type of things. So and by chance that there was a craft fair that weekend, I was like, you know what, let's go walk around, this craft store and craft fair, and just walk around and talk, and there's a park right next door, so there's a park and a craft fair, so it's kind of a really easy spot
Hmm.
to walk around.
Okay, so why don't we expand on that and not ask about the ideal first date, but what is the
Mm-hmm.
perfect date? So it could be any number of dates, but where was the perfect date for you? You
Perfect
recommend?
date for me. If it was just for me, like anywhere in the world, probably like I'll probably like maybe go to like a wine vineyard or like a wine bar, like something related with wine and cheese and something like that. That'll be probably be mine,
Fancy.
like a jazz club, something like that. Something with wine. I'm really big into wine, so like that would be my ideal, first date. If it was just for me.
Domesticated man over here. Uh,
I mean, yeah, I like food. I like food and drinks. What can I say?
oh, what is these other questions?
I see like
How
a how do
how do you rescue yourself from a bad date without being obvious? Has that ever happened to you?
yeah, yeah, it
So
has.
how about I have a really bad story that I'll share that I usually
Uh,
try not to because the thing is most of the girls I've dated all know about my YouTube channel.
okay.
So I try not to use names. But why don't you go ahead and start with answering that question, probably I'm assuming from a bad date. How do you rescue yourself from a bad date without being obvious?
Yeah, I mean, like usually you can tell right away, like the girl and the guy usually can tell right away if it's kind of an awkward date so far. But like usually, I try to just be a trooper. It's still try to be respectful and just like get through the day. Be nice and just just like uh, go for the dinner, keep on talking, and then it's just had a nice time, and then just be on your way. You don't have to say lemon law or anything and walk away. You just
But
finish the date.
you don't have like a rescue, like in terms
A rescue?
like because I'm going back to specifically the question, is there any way where something you've used, like the classic example I think of is texting a friend and say, "Hey, call me, I need to leave."
I mean, maybe for a girl that happens a lot. For a guy, I try to be a gentleman. Try to be respectful to the person. And because she's not like some kind of like you know meat or some kind of like animal where I need to like get away from her. I try to be respectful and just finish it.
Hmm, okay. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you about one of mine's, and this I feel like this might get a little long, but hopefully stop me if it gets too long. We're trying to put
Hmm.
like 5 minutes no 3 minutes on here, so I don't want to be too long. So I can tell you that I've probably had a couple. I haven't had any bad dates, but I've had one that I always think about, and I'm not going to share the full story because it probably isn't super appropriate.
Hmm.
But the main thing is that you do know right away. I took
Yeah.
a girl on a date one time. We went to eat at a hibachi restaurant. So you know
Hmm.
hibachi, there's like a group of people, right?
Right.
And you're all they sit you down and they cook the food in front of you and you're with other people. So I took a girl there and right away I knew it was going to be bad because within 10 minutes of the conversation, she started screaming pretty loud to the point
What?
where everyone in the whole place kind of like
Wow.
was looking at us. And the
Uh
screaming was about how much she hated Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears.
huh. Wow. Really?
I was
That got
like,
her.
yeah, she was just ranting about it. I mean, I didn't even bring it up, but she was so full of hate towards them that she just started trashing them really loud. So that's one. It was a little
Wow.
weird. And this is in the
How
first
did
10 minutes, but
how did it come up? How did it come
I
up?
don't remember. I don't remember a lot about that. But basically, what happened next is, I try to be nice, and this is actually one of my first dates. Actually, she was my very first date ever
Mm.
online dating. I've never online dated before, and this is my first time actually dating again. But basically, after that, I try to be nice, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go get coffee afterwards?" I was like, sure. So we went to get coffee, and then we were sitting there drinking coffee, and then I remember sitting on a couch with her,
Hmm.
and I was so tuned out from the conversation that she's right next to me, and she's talking at me, and I was just like looking this way because I was so tuned out.
Right.
Uh,
You already gave up already. You probably would have just said no. Hey, no
yeah,
coffee for you.
I should have, but we did that, and we did that for 2 hours.
Wow. 2 more hours of hell, huh? It seems like.
Yeah, and I took her back home. I drove her. I actually picked her up, which I guess is a big
Oh.
no-no on first dates. But I dropped her off at her place. So I never really had a rescue. It was a
Mm.
like a I don't know 5-hour date.
Right. Right.
But let's move on to some other questions here. Let's see. There's some that came in. Is the first date too early to figure out what you want to name your first child together?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure usually some people have their firstborns already listed out already, right? So I mean, it's probably not too early because you probably already knew in the first place already.
Do you ever have you ever had that conversation with the first
Not
child?
on a first date, but like I mean, you can think in your head, like I probably wouldn't say it out loud, but you can probably have it ready, in
Do you
the back
think
of your mind.
do you think about the name of your first kid on a first date, but you just don't say it?
Not really, but like I have a list somewhere, in the cloud somewhere that I have a list of names I want to use in the future, but not really with certain persons because usually it's a two-way street. So you kind of want that person's input on names, but like if you have your own thoughts about names, then yeah, sure, you can think about it, but probably don't probably wouldn't want to be asking this person. I mean, if you're like older, an older person, in the 30s plus, and then the other person probably wants have kids too. So I mean, you can probably weave that kind of conversation in the day somewhere. I mean,
In the first
we're
date?
adults. I mean, if you're old enough and they can handle it, and if you kind of see how they are as a date, if they're like talking about family and stuff like that, then yeah, it might come up if they're mature enough to handle that kind of stuff. Like from what I've noticed, that if they're older, usually they can usually handle it. You know,
So, yeah, I don't think that's ever come up for me, but
nah, it hasn't, but who knows?
okay. So, moving on to the next question here. How do you make time for GTL when you're dating?
Gym, tanning, and laundry.
Yeah.
Um, what was the question? What was the question again? Make time for what?
How do you make time for GTL when you're dating?
I mean, there's 24 hours a day. I'm sure you can, do it. When you don't have time, when you're not together, you can just, work out in your house or do push-ups, sit-ups, laundry. It's a Sunday thing, anyways. Tanning, I don't know. I'm in Florida, so I don't need to tan. I just go outside and I can tan right now.
Well, you got to make sure
So
you follow social distancing, folks. Make sure you follow social distancing rules.
definitely wear a mask.
Yes. Yeah, GTL is hard. GTL is hard when you're dating. You gotta. GTL is a one-man show. Anyways, we can move on to another question here. The question is, has that ever happened to you when you realize the date is going not as intended and the person backs out? Hmm.
Hmm.
So it is more common with females. I guess it would be interesting to think. I
Yeah.
never really thought about if the female backed out early.
I mean, one time I did like get stood up one time.
Hmm.
Like we were discussing a time and place, and I went to the spot. I was waiting for like maybe 30 minutes, and luckily I had a friend that was living nearby, and I just like text her, "Hey, well, come hang out for a little bit." So that kind of saved me a little bit. But yeah, I had been stood up once, and that was pretty embarrassing.
But you've never
Yeah.
had what Robert just asked, right? Has it basically you're on a date already
Oh, already.
and that person backed out.
Wait, how do you back out once if you're already on date?
So I'll give you an example. That just made me think. I can't think of a time right now, but I can tell you that there was a date I went on where I don't know, maybe this is an example of one because we never know their intentions, right? So
Hmm.
a girl, this is a date in DC. A girl took the metro for like an hour to come to DC to go out with me
Oh,
to
like that.
get lunch.
Hmm.
So we got lunch. It was okay interactions, but it definitely wasn't like a good connection. It was
Uh-huh.
okay, but I think was asking if she wanted to go some other places. She's like, I think I gotta go back
Mm.
up to see my friend and things like that. But so that was actually short. That was probably one of my shorter dates. It was still 2 hours, but so I don't know. Maybe she was like, "Yo, this guy is whack.
Yeah,
Try to
I
get out of
mean,
here."
yeah, I'm sure it's her way of being like, you know what, I'm gonna recuse myself from this date and go somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that happens all the time.
Okay, let's see what other questions we got here. Um, if you could rank the top three things you look for a partner, what would they be?
Hmm. I mean, that top three is pretty hard, but like, I guess
Or
like
what?
you know,
Whatever. Top one, top two, top
yeah.
five. What
I mean,
works
we'll
for you?
see. Top three is fine. Top three is fine.
Okay.
I guess like I guess being chill. I kind of like tomboyish girls. So like when they're like more like
Tomboyish.
yeah, tomboyish. Like very athletic. So I kind of look for that. So when they talk about like being able to like running or basketball or football, like so that's kind of like on the top of my list sometimes. Being weird is one of my favorite qualities in a girl.
Define that. What is weird?
Um, I guess weird in the sense of like the normal sense of society. I guess like like an anime or like
That's
um,
weird.
yeah. Sometimes I mean maybe outside of Asians, like anime is weird, or like sometimes if they're quirky, like if a girl's like on a date and all of a sudden like the girl would just bust out laughing or like start like asking you, "Oh, do you want to play a game?" Like, while you're walking around, and it's kind of like some like weird creativity stuff that she comes out with sometimes. And I guess you can kind of like put that in a bucket of being weird, I guess, but quirky, I guess you can say quirky.
Okay.
And I guess like and I have like sense of humor. That's usually pretty important too. So, but that kind of
What kind of humor?
quirky, definitely
Quirky.
quirky. Yeah, yeah, definitely weird and quirky. Being loud, I like girls that are loud, not too quiet. Um,
Loud. Like more extroverted type girls?
yeah, when they talk loud or like being like, because I kind of like like showing my dates or girlfriends to my friends. So if they can handle talking to my friends one on one or like even by themselves without me, being besides them, then it's a plus. Like I'll notice it right away that they're comfortable with themselves and other people that they don't know.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. The someone asked this type of question, or some form of it in the forums the other day, and I answered something similar. And I think this is for my answer to that would be basically one of the first things I look for is like passion. I can tell you that with the date I just described earlier, where we didn't
Hmm.
really vibe, she was like immediately gave off the impressions where she just was super unmotivated, didn't care about anything at work,
Right.
or outside of work. She just had no interest, just bummed around, want to watch TV and things like that. And it was, I feel like that's kind of a turnoff when you don't have goals or ambitions outside of whatever. It's just like you go to work to get paid, and you come home and you don't do anything.
Right. Right.
Biggest turnoff.
That's definitely a turn off too for me too. Yeah.
The second thing I think I've learned, and this is more so like from my past relationships, I think that it's important to find someone that can amplify your interests. And
Definitely.
maybe a way to say that is people who have similar interests, like your big picture and what you want to accomplish, you know?
Yeah, it does help. It does help, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't have to be everything. Just like here and there. One or two things that they're willing to like at least willing to learn about it. Maybe then they don't have to have the same interest, but if they want to learn about it, then sure, that helps too.
Yeah, that's definitely fair too. And since we're both Asian, we can say
Hmm.
like the common Asian terms where like if you were to describe the Asian girl, would you don't sound like you would be interested in the ABG. You're interested in the
No.
what's the is there a term for that? The Asian
Oh,
girls?
like a church girl. I don't know.
Church girl.
Boba girl. I don't know. Like, oh, there's like an Asian churchy girl, or something along those lines, or I don't know, or like the professional one, the Asian professional, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm too old for this kind of terminology.
Let me just ask you the yes or no question for that then. Is ABG the type of girl that you're interested in?
Not for marriage, probably. And
Not for marriage.
I mean, the stereotype of it probably. I mean, if I just see her and I mean, I'd be like, oh, cool, she's pretty hot, but it depends on getting to know her, right? So if she's a cool person behind all that makeup and flash, then maybe. But I would have to get above that exterior first.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Um, look at another question. We have a question from Casey here. How long do you wait to text a girl after a date?
Usually when I get home, hey, I had a good time. Hope you did too. I mean, why play games when like I think I heard about yeah, wait 3 days before he takes her back. I mean, come on, that's why torture the girl, or yourself to see how the date went. Just text her when you get home. Hey, I hope you had a good time. I hope you got home safely, and that's it. Just be right away. Be upfront. Why wait?
Hmm. I'm trying to think of what I do. I think it depends on the date.
Yeah, of course. But yes, yeah, be at least courteous and say, oh, hope you got home safely, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I usually do end up dating pretty soon. I mean, when I'm texting pretty soon after, maybe like an hour or 2 hours after.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Um, yeah, I think that is, I can't think of anything overtly, but the subsequent texts are a different story.
Hmm.
Um, do you usually, yeah, I'm kind of curious from your perspective because texting, I hate texting. And even both
Yeah,
people I date and people who are my friends or family, I just I don't know what it is, but I'm not a fan of texting, and it may take me days before I respond to a text.
right. I mean, for me, like I like texting because it's easier to you know do multiple things at the same time. Like for me, I don't like calling people, so like because I want to be able to do something else while I'm talking to this person. So texting works because I can think about it and respond right away, or I have to like because if I'm on the phone talking to a girl or something like that, like you gotta like figure out something to say like pretty quickly, and if you don't have anything to say, it may have some kind of awkward silence. So texting kind of allows me to think and ask the right questions. So texting is a good tool to have when you're dating, honestly.
So here's another. This is probably a more touchy subject, but we're both in our 30s, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who are dating in their 30s, and it seems as though many people who are dating in their 30s might find the other person to be who have been married or divorced or have
Hmm.
kids.
Right.
How do you feel about those? Those are all separate topics, but
Hmm.
divorce is one. So previously
Hmm.
married, divorced. Then another one is like they have kids. Let's just do those two. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, divorce is it's pretty fine. That's fine. Divorce happens pretty, you know, common in this world these days. Kids, it's a little harder, because there's another life that you gotta like take care of and like you gotta like be mindful of. So like, it depends on the age, I guess sometimes, but like it's makes dating a lot harder because sometimes the girl doesn't have time for you because she has to take care of the kids. So it definitely makes things a lot harder. So for me, it's probably not something I want to, partake in. But you know, I mean,
Have you
moms need to have lives too. So hey,
have
it
you
just takes some work.
have you
I have not. I have not. I have not dating any girls that have kids so far. No.
what about divorce?
Nope. Nope.
I have done both.
Oh wow. How did that feel?
Divorce is fine. I think it's hard because it's usually at some point it, the past issues come up.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that, the girl would apply those issues or subject you to some of the issues from the past. And I think
Hmm.
it's been a little negative, but definitely open to it, just like what you said. It's not uncommon to be
Yeah.
divorced necessarily,
Right.
but it's I mean, I feel like some of those who have been divorced is a little bit more mature sometimes.
Yeah.
But the ones that I have dated have been a little harder because they just project some of the issues, and it's
Yeah.
not been good.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably have some baggage that they have on their backs, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one with the kids, there's a girl that I was talking to that had two kids. I I
Wow.
think they were definitely under 7. And that was hard from logistical purposes. So like
Yeah.
you want to go out somewhere, you have to think about babysitter.
Right.
It's too, especially in the early phases, it's too early to introduce to kids.
Yeah.
That's been hard. But I think
Hmm.
nowadays when I look at it, it's just harder to date someone who has a kid because I can't even take care of myself.
True that. True that. Seems like Robert wants to follow up on the rescue question, huh?
Uh, but oh yeah, he was asking about everything. Let's we move on to what is this, Julie? On dating apps, what pickup lines do you start off with to catch
Pickup
someone's
lines.
attention?
I don't know. I haven't really had much, success in using pickup lines on a
No?
online date. Not really, not really. But usually I go with the whole. Oh, I try to be more upfront. So like I kind of be like, I usually use that question of like, oh, if you or what kind of like um, personality trait that you know that you have that people don't know about yourself. It kind of ask deeper questions and try to be a little bit more different that kind of way. So not really anything funny, I guess.
So my bias is that pickup lines don't work unless you're very attractive.
Probably, probably. That's the sense I get, anyways. Because I feel like girls probably get pickup lines like by the thousands, probably. And how are you gonna weed out all those, pickup lines for a girl? So that's what I see, anyways. And I've seen like my friends who are girls, and they show me their inboxes, and it's filled. Like I think I think one time I was with my friend, and she signed up for I think Match or eHarmony, one of those websites. And within like 5 minutes of her signing up, she had probably like 100 messages that popped up into her inbox. I was like, wow, this just kept on coming. And we're just like in the car, it's like, looking at her inbox, and it just kept on coming and coming and coming. I'm like, geez, I've never received a message like that ever. So I'm sure, I don't know how girls do it. But
Yeah,
it's work for them.
I would think, just from I'm always interested in research things. I would think like on depends on the app. Some apps people may be more open to pickup lines than
Yeah,
other apps.
probably.
I think that I have a 0% success rate on pickup lines. Like literally 0% on every single app I've ever used. I think it's the ones that do respond are when I ask the mundane, basic, general questions.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like they have to have some kind of interest in you first before they even gonna respond to you. So what's the point of having a pickup line in the first place, in my opinion?
I mean, yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
The one when I first so I didn't discover online dating until I got out of that long 10-year relationship. So I didn't even
Hmm.
know really understand the whole pickup line idea.
Yeah.
But the one that I used to use, this is going to be so embarrassing. But the one that I used to use because I probably saw it in a movie or something, and I think it's funny is like if you were a booger, I'd pick you. But I know it's very very
It's cheesy, but I mean, I'm sure they'll give some laughs and stuff like that. I mean, that's all it's for, right? Pickup lines for like a little laugh sometimes. So yeah, why not?
yeah, it's weird. I'm just like thinking about I've never had any success with pickup lines. But anyways, let's see. When do you transition from career focus to family and settling down?
Like age wise, or
That's when do you transition from career focus? That sounds like age wise. Is that age?
yeah.
That sounds like an age wise question.
I mean, it depends on you, right? It depends on the person you're like on yourself. If you're trying to focus on your career, and then if you think you're sad for your career, then you can move on to your family life. But it's definitely from what I've noticed that family and career can get in the way of sometimes. So it's definitely hard. Like you gotta be mindful of your age, because if you get a little too advanced in age, family might get a little harder to get. So you definitely gotta be mindful of what you want. You want career or you want family, you know? Because it's a lot harder with both. Definitely a lot harder.
I had this conversation, I think, with my grandma,
Hmm.
but I think it's a hard question to ask, and it might be dependent on whether you're a male or female. So this is,
Yeah.
I hold a very traditional perspective here, where it's like if you're a guy, maybe the age is irrelevant here, but it's more so
For a woman, yeah.
yeah, maybe for yeah, that's fair. But
Yeah.
so from the guy perspective, it's that I think you transition when you've established a sustainable financial income,
Yeah,
because I wouldn't
definitely.
feel comfortable taking care of someone or taking on a relationship or family until I have some type of financial stability.
Right. Definitely. Agreed.
So it kind of depends. So you can graduate 4 years with a business degree, work at a startup and be super successful, or work at a business, go to consulting and be successful at a very young age, or you can go to other schools or do training in other areas that take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. Um, what was the other thing? Ask about something interesting because like this is getting too deep. We ask some more interesting conversations.
Oh
So
man.
a conversation that something that's very interesting and it's almost like a very common thing in the online dating world nowadays is dating multiple people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I one of my friends told me before that on the OkCupid dating website, it is the average that people are dating 3.5, I think that was the number,
That
individuals
sounds
at
about right.
once.
That sounds about right. I mean, I probably juggle around three girls at the same time at one point. I mean, it's
Ugh.
hard. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, like, you're trying to figure out, who's the best one, and you're going on
Oh,
date.
how do you figure out who's the best one?
I mean, you try to go on dates with them, and you talk to them. You see how how to interact with you. So if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. It's kind of like a gut feeling sometimes.
How do you balance three girls that you're talking to? Are you talking about like you're talking to three or you're like actively going on dates with all three?
Yeah, so like I'm talking and going on dates with them, all three of them. It's definitely a lot of work, but like, I mean, girls in general are a lot of work. So, you reap what you sow. So if you put in the work, you probably might get something out of it. So it's about hard work sometimes, when you're going on dates with girls. So it's definitely hard to juggle three girls, but I mean, if it just happens, you're going on a dating website and you're just messaging tons of girls and have three girls out that just respond to you. So there you go. You have three girls that you have to be mindful of. So
Do the girls usually know the other girls you're talking to?
I mean, I usually say oh like we're all on a dating website and there's other people also in the other back burner, I guess. They're all waiting, I guess, too.
You say
So
that?
yeah, you get when you're dating when you're using a website, you gotta tell them, hey, you're not the only one that I'm seeing, whatever, or talking to, whatever. So you have to be upfront with that kind of stuff sometimes. So that's for me, anyways.
So how do you categorize someone as you're talking to? Because like you might have, let's say, 10 matches on a dating
Right.
app, and like, are you saying I'm dating 10 other people? What
I
is
mean, I
that?
guess not.
What is that
I
threshold?
guess
What is
not
considered
really
talking?
dating wise, like like steady, I guess, or not, but just like trying to feeling them out, like just like you know checking to see how they are or like who they are. So just kind of like feelers out there. It's not really like dating, and like
So
serious stuff.
so let me ask you a question. So you were juggling three girls at once.
Yeah,
Have you found yourself in like one day having to cancel plans with another girl because one girl wanted to hang out, or like
yeah. It's definitely happened like that. Like I
okay.
would like be talking to this one girl, and this other girl want to do something like right now. But oh man, so you kind of like have priority. You have like your rankings. Like you have one, two, and three girls sometimes, and like you kind of like have like a priority list on who you want to spend your time with first. So if that person number one wants to hang out, and number three is like kind of already has a plan with you, but kind of like one better, then you kind of want to say, oh, you're gonna have to cancel the third one and go with the one that's number one on your list. So,
Damn.
I mean, in the dating world, it's rough. I mean, you gotta like just the dog out and dog eat dog world out there. So you just gotta like just do what you want. I have once like messaged the wrong girl sometimes, and that was like oh shit. You know,
Describe that experience. What exactly happened?
so like I was like talking to someone else and at the same time and both girls were talking at the same time and like I'll be talking about something else with another girl and another topic on another girl and I would accidentally send the message that I was gonna send to the other girl, to the girl that this other girl, and she'd be like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh shit." This is I was telling this to my best friend, whatever. Like kind of played off that. You accidentally sent it to your friend or something like that. And, like you just kind of play off that way, but it kind of like it's
What did you
disorienting.
say?
Uh, Probably like like, do you want to hang out somewhere, blah blah blah, or something along those lines. Nothing too crazy. Where we're like, oh,
But
oh,
that's generic though. Did you say
yeah, it's
something?
generic. It's generic, but like in my mind, I was meaning to tell this person that I want to tell this to, but I accidentally said it to this other person. So it kind of like for myself, it's like, oh man, I messed up, But so for her, she probably didn't notice. But for me, I noticed that I messed up.
I wonder if there is like a problem with like uh or difference between guys and girls when they think about those things. So I can say
Maybe.
I went on a date with one girl and she was like, "Yo, you did that thing, right?" I was like, "No." It was like a very I think it was we were talking it was about love languages and everyone does the love languages thing, but I know for a
Uh
fact I didn't talk about that with her.
huh.
And she was like, "No, I'm fairly certain it was you, right?" I was like, "No." And she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But I was like, I don't really care. Because my expectations is that girls are always talking to multiple people, so
Yeah.
it's not uncommon to mix people up, especially in the
Yeah. It's
early
definitely
stages.
not. Yeah.
But we can move on. Let's see. We have some question from do
Oh, I'm parking
you
a little
do
lag.
you Bumble, Tinder, Match, Christian Mingle? Ooh, Christian
Christian
Mingle
bingo.
or
No.
Farmers. Best dating
Farmers
app.
like.
Let's talk about so what dating apps have you used?
I've used pretty much all of them. Like okay, Cupid, Match, eHarmony, Coffee Meets Bagel, Hinge, Facebook Dating at one point. What else is there? East Meets East, which is that Asian focused one. Yeah, whatever was around. Yeah, I used it. Playing of Fish. I don't know what else is
What
there.
is the best dating app?
From what I've experienced, it's probably been OK Cupid since those girls have actually turned into a girlfriend at one point or another.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Is that the only one, the dating app that you've used that turned into like a girlfriend?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Hmm. Uh, Best dating app. I think it always depends on the preference and
Hmm.
what you use it for, or what are you trying to do. Usually
Right.
dictates the app. I can tell you that my my dating, and this sounds terrible, is that I love to troll people.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I have different apps for different reasons. So one example is, but I've actually been doing this on most of the apps. So I used Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and Coffee Meets Bagel.
Hmm.
Usually I reserve Coffee Meets Bagel as like a potential serious one. So
Mm.
usually I'm not trolling
Yeah,
in
why
that
is
one.
that? Why would you choose that one as your more serious one?
Because that was the first dating app I used right after my long-term relationship that
Uh,
I found my next girlfriend on.
okay.
And actually, it was the only one I found where because I you go out with these girls on these different apps, and then I almost feel like you can categorize them in some ways. And the dates that I've gone on with Coffee Meets Bagel have like been pretty consistently good.
Hmm.
The other apps usually are like very hit or miss, but
Right.
most of the girlfriends have come from Coffee Meets Bagel or Tinder. But
Tinder.
but
Okay.
but Tinder and Hinge and Bumble usually on those, like I like straight up. Maybe it's like partly flirting, but like I straight up troll the girls because I think it's funny.
Yeah, because I think feel like most of the time, like you're pretty much basically selling, on looks probably, and it kind of like whatever, if it happens or it happens, if not, whatever, So usually, like, you're not really reading, profiles. You're just looking at pictures. So yeah, it makes sense to just be trolling on that.
I mean, I'm trolling in the sense that I'm not looking to even go on a date with them. I'm just trolling them. Uh, but let me see. Let's see what else do we have here. Uh, oh, this is interesting. So we're gonna go switch back quickly to a deep question, and maybe we can start wrapping it up because I actually have another call in 10
Yeah, me
minutes.
too.
Oh yeah, yeah, you too. You go. So this maybe
Yeah.
would be the last question. We're end on a more serious note here. But would you find someone less attractive if they were in their 30s and just now getting their life together?
No, no. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to get your life together at after a certain age, and I commend someone to be able to realize that hey, I gotta get my life together. If they're 30, hey, better for them. They finally figure it out. So no, I definitely won't find them unattractive because of that, because they're not on the same timeline as me or something like that. But if they got there, they got there. So who cares?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to say the same. They're because you almost can argue that someone who is getting their life together in their 30s, they're actually trying and chasing
Yeah.
whatever made sense or what they care about, versus someone who just gave up and just stay in their
Yeah.
current job.
Exactly.
So definitely, I would say probably more attractive, if anything, if someone is
Definitely.
getting their life together.
Definitely. Definitely.
Um, but
And actually,
go ahead.
and I think you can probably you have more questions to ask, like, oh, so what made you you know finally get your life together? Like, 'cause I think it opens up to even deeper questions when you're older and you're finally starting your life at a different timeline versus everybody else. So I think it opens up into a lot of questions that you can ask that could find you can understand their psyche sometimes.
Hmm, what the freak? Do you know these people, by the way, that's asking the questions?
No, I don't know these people.
Okay. So Julie asks if you could have one Pokemon in real life, which one would it be?
Um, probably probably Meowth. Probably well the Team Rocket Meowth. That one because it kind of talks and like you know
Yo, that's
comes out.
racist, bro. That's racist.
Oh, it talks. How's it racist?
So all the Chinese people have that good luck chat.
Yeah, I mean, there's money that I mean, it's a pretty smart Meowth, so uh, it's cool. Other ones are kind of like like pets, but Meowth seems like more like a companion that you can understand and stuff. So I like that one a lot. And it's funny. He's funny.
I don't even know how to answer that question.
I don't
I
know.
feel like I would be influenced by the
The original three.
yeah, the original three, but the main one like Pikachu.
Yeah, Pikachu. Yeah, I was trying not to be too, you know,
Too simple. That's like yeah,
cliche.
cliche. There you go.
Cliche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think to be more practical, it would probably be, if I were to think expand on that more, it would be a flying Pokemon so I can avoid the
Mm.
traffic.
Yeah, sure. Like a Pidgeot.
Yeah, but, well, that would be too small. Like a
No, no, Pidgeot was pretty big, right?
that was Pidgeot.
Pidgeot. Was it Pidgeot? It's
I thought
Pidgeot, and Pidgeot, right? I think that's
I
what it
thought it was
was.
Pidgeot, Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot. Let's look it
I
up.
don't know. I don't know. It's been
Pid,
a while since I
Pid,
played Pokemon. It's Pidgey first. Pidgey,
Pidgey evolution.
Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot, I think.
Yeah, that's what I said. So
Yeah, that's what I said.
Pidgey, Pidgeotto. Damn, how do you look this up?
Uh, Pidgey forms, Pidgey evolution forms, maybe.
Yeah, I try looking Pidgey evolution. Oh, there it is. Pidgey, Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
probably
I
have
was, I
a
was,
flying Pokemon.
it's cool.
All right, so how do you feel now that you secured, a girlfriend in the last 2 months? You're doing good, not going
I
back to the
mean,
single life. Feels good.
it's still quarantine's, dating life, so it's a little different. You're not really going on dates. You're kind of like doing most of it online and video chatting. So that's kind of a bummer. So it's definitely different, but yeah, seems pretty positive so far. So even if it is through mostly video chat, so but get to talk more about deeper stuff sometimes. So It's not bad when you're not, physically there,
Hmm.
not worried about, the physical stuff as much.
Yeah, because your relationship is not it's
It's
long
not typical.
distance. It's long
Yeah,
distance.
it's definitely not typical. Yes,
Okay.
definitely long distance.
Well, let's wrap this up, and then we maybe we can chat more about this in the future because I might
Yeah,
do.
maybe have like a little round table, like multiple people join the video chat sometimes, probably.
Yeah, yeah, we can definitely do that. I
Yeah,
know there's a couple other folks that are interested, so we can certainly chat about that. Maybe we have
yeah,
your girlfriend on.
yeah, maybe, yeah, if she wants to.
Okay, cool.
All
Well,
right.
Norman, thanks for your time. We will check in next time and shout out to everyone that came and watched the stream. See you guys
Yeah,
next time.
thank you for having me.
All right, see ya.
Bye bye.